Have you ever noticed how heavy life can feel when you go through your days expecting things to be a certain way? Maybe it's expecting people to behave like they always have, or hoping circumstances will magically change overnight. I used to do this all the time. Every morning, I'd wake up with a list in my head, what I hoped would happen, what I thought should happen, and who I thought should behave differently. And, as you might guess, that list rarely matched reality. I'd go to bed frustrated, feeling drained, and wondering why life felt so exhausting even though I was doing everything right. Then, a few years ago, something shifted. I realized that most of my stress, disappointment, and frustration came not from the world around me, but from my own expectations. It wasn't that life had become harder, it was that I had been holding onto this invisible set of rules, expecting everything to align perfectly. And of course, it never did. That's when I started experimenting with something radical for me, accepting instead of expecting. Accepting doesn't mean giving up or settling for less. It means seeing things as they are, appreciating what's already present, and letting go of the mental struggle against reality. I started small. Instead of expecting the traffic to disappear or the weather to cooperate, I acknowledged, this is what it is today, and moved forward without resistance. Instead of expecting family members to act a certain way, I noticed and appreciated what they actually did. This subtle shift had an immediate effect. I slept better, felt lighter, and even found myself smiling more. Life didn't change overnight, but my experience of it did. One of the first habits that helped me embrace this mindset was simply pausing before reacting. I noticed that so much of my stress came from instant reactions, grumbling at the news, feeling annoyed when plans didn't go my way, or getting upset when someone said something that rubbed me the wrong way. I began to take a moment. Just one deep breath, a pause to observe the situation without judgment, and then a choice in how to respond. It sounds small, but it's incredibly powerful. That brief pause creates space between the stimulus and my reaction, and in that space, I often discovered patience, empathy, and even humor. Another habit was focusing on what I could control rather than what I couldn't. This might sound cliché, but it's life-changing when practiced daily. For example, I can't control the economy, my neighbor's mood, or even how my body feels sometimes, but I can control my attitude, my effort, and how I spend my energy. I started paying attention to where I was investing my thoughts and emotions, and I let go of the mental energy spent on things outside my control. The effect was immediate. I felt freer, lighter, and far less tied to frustration. I also discovered the power of appreciating small, everyday moments. When your mind is full of expectations, you often overlook the simple joys right in front of you. I began taking a few moments each day to notice the warmth of the sun on my skin, the aroma of morning coffee, the laughter of friends or family. These small acts of noticing and appreciating life as it is became a daily practice of gratitude. And here's the key, gratitude doesn't just make you feel good, it rewires your brain. Over time, I realized I was naturally expecting less and noticing more. The joy was already there, I just had to see it. Now, I want to share a personal story that really drove this point home for me. A few years ago, I was visiting my adult children and expected the house to be tidy, the conversation to flow perfectly, and everyone to agree with my suggestions. You can guess how that went, it didn't. And in the past, I would have left feeling frustrated, disappointed, or even angry. But this time, I caught myself. I reminded myself, they are who they are. This is their home. This is the day as it is. And instead of fighting it, I laughed, joined the chaos, and even enjoyed the imperfections. By the end of the visit, I felt more connected, more relaxed, and yes, happier than I would have if I had held onto my expectations. These early shifts, pausing before reacting, focusing on what I can control, appreciating small moments, and choosing acceptance, formed the foundation of a new approach to life. It's not always easy, old habits die hard, and it takes conscious effort to let go of expectations. But the peace, calm, and sense of freedom I found made it more than worthwhile. And that's what this video is about. Over the next few minutes, I want to explore how accepting instead of expecting transformed my daily life, my relationships, and even my own health. I'll share practical habits, real-life stories, and ways you can start applying this mindset today. By the end, I hope you'll see that acceptance isn't resignation, it's a path to inner peace and a more joyful, resilient life. So, let's start by diving deeper into how acceptance reshapes your reactions. When you stop expecting the world to bend to your wishes, you open the door to responding with calmness instead of frustration. You notice things more clearly, you interact with others more gently, and you stop wasting energy on resistance. That's the first step toward the peace I've been talking about. And feel that these insights are meaningful. Please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. Once we start noticing the difference between expecting and accepting, the next step is learning how to let go of outcomes. This was a real game changer for me. For decades, I carried around a mental checklist of how life should unfold. I expected my family to behave in certain ways, friends to show up on time, doctors to have immediate solutions, and even myself to perform perfectly in every situation. But life rarely followed that script. And the tension from constantly comparing reality to my expectations was exhausting. The moment I consciously started letting go of the need for specific outcomes, something shifted. I realized that by clinging to a fixed idea of how things should be, I was essentially holding myself hostage. I had trapped my happiness in the hands of circumstances I couldn't control. But when I let go, I discovered freedom. Instead of asking, "Why isn't this happening the way I want?" I began asking, "What can I notice or appreciate in this moment?" It's a subtle shift in language, but it changes everything. One practical way I applied this was in relationships. My adult children and I had our fair share of disagreements, particularly when they made choices I didn't fully understand or agree with. In the past, I would expect them to act in a way that reflected my values and hopes, and I'd stew when reality didn't match. Eventually, I realized that expecting them to be a certain way only caused me stress. So, I started practicing acceptance. I reminded myself that they are their own people with their own lives. I focused on listening, supporting, and appreciating their efforts rather than trying to mold outcomes. The change was remarkable. Conversations became more relaxed, laughter returned to family gatherings, and I felt lighter, less burdened by the weight of expectation. Another powerful practice is mindful observation. Instead of living in a constant state of "I wish this were different," I trained myself to observe situations with curiosity. For example, when I go for a walk in the park, I no longer focus on wishing the weather were warmer, the path smoother, or the benches closer together. I simply notice the birds, the leaves, and the rhythm of my steps. By observing without judgment or expectation, I connect more deeply with the present moment. That simple act has done wonders for my peace of mind. I also discovered that accepting my own limitations is key. As we age, our bodies, memory, and energy levels change. Expecting to perform like we did in our 30s or 40s can be frustrating and discouraging. I had to learn to accept that some things are simply different now, and that's okay. Instead of pushing myself to do more than my body could handle, I focused on what felt good, what energized me, and what brought joy. This acceptance didn't make me weaker, it made me wiser. I could enjoy life fully without the constant pressure of unrealistic expectations. A practical exercise I started doing is what I like to call expectation journaling. At the end of each day, I write down moments where I felt frustrated or stressed, and I identify whether those feelings came from expectations that weren't met. Then, I reframe each situation with acceptance. This is what happened, and it's okay. I can learn, adapt, or simply enjoy what is. Over time, this practice trains your brain to notice expectations before they spiral into stress. It creates a habit of choosing acceptance over resistance, even in small moments. I also noticed that letting go of expectations deepens gratitude. When you stop expecting life to behave in a certain way, you start noticing what's already present. A sunny morning, a kind word from a neighbor, a phone call from a friend, these little gifts become larger than life when we're not busy comparing them to what we think should happen. Gratitude naturally flows from acceptance, and that has a profound impact on your overall well-being. Perhaps the most profound change I experienced was in my emotional health. Anxiety, frustration, and disappointment had been constant companions for most of my life. By practicing acceptance, I began noticing how much lighter I felt emotionally. I wasn't constantly reacting to unmet expectations, which meant I had more energy for joy, connection, and creativity. Life became more enjoyable, not because circumstances changed, but because my relationship to them changed. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring or lose ambition. It simply means you stop clinging to a rigid idea of how things must be. You learn to flow with life rather than fight it. And as I learned, that flow brings a sense of peace, freedom, and clarity that's hard to find when you're stuck in the cycle of expecting. In the next part, we'll explore how acceptance transforms long-term relationships, health, and overall happiness, and I'll share practical tips for making it a daily habit so that you, too, can experience a calmer, more fulfilling life. By now, you might be starting to see how powerful acceptance can be, not just in small daily frustrations but in shaping your overall life. One of the biggest areas where this mindset makes a huge difference is in long-term relationships. Think about it. Whether it's with a spouse, adult children, or close friends, we often expect people to act, speak, or behave the way we want. And when they don't, we feel hurt, frustrated, or even resentful. I've experienced this firsthand. In my own relationships, I started practicing acceptance by noticing when my expectations were getting in the way of connection. I stopped waiting for people to meet my standards or follow my scripts. Instead, I focused on truly listening, empathizing, and appreciating the moments we shared. Over time, I realized that this not only reduced conflict but also deepened intimacy. People respond to us more warmly when we accept them as they are, not as we hope them to be. Peace in relationships isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling your expectations and embracing what is. Acceptance also profoundly impacts our health. Stress from unmet expectations can trigger tension, high blood pressure, and even insomnia. I used to wake up anxious about the day ahead, expecting challenges to overwhelm me. But as I began accepting circumstances rather than expecting them to change, I noticed my mind felt calmer, my sleep improved, and my body relaxed. My energy levels increased, and I found myself engaging in life with more presence and joy. It turns out, letting go of the shoulds isn't just good for your mind, it's good for your body, too. Another way acceptance transformed my life is through resilience. Life throws challenges at everyone, especially as we age: health issues, loss of friends, unexpected changes. When I expected life to be smooth or fair, setbacks hit hard. But when I approached these moments with acceptance, I could navigate them with more grace. I acknowledged reality without resistance, looked for lessons or opportunities within challenges, and moved forward without being weighed down by frustration or regret. Acceptance became a form of emotional armor, making difficult times more manageable. One practical habit that's helped me cultivate acceptance daily is morning reflection. Each day, I take a few minutes to remind myself that life won't always go as planned, and that's okay. I set intentions not to control outcomes, but to respond with patience, openness, and curiosity. This small ritual sets the tone for the day, helping me approach everything with a sense of peace instead of tension. Over months and years, these small practices compound into a more relaxed, joyful life. Acceptance also opens the door to more genuine happiness. When we stop measuring every moment against our expectations, we start noticing the richness of life as it is. The laughter of grandchildren, the warmth of a sunny morning, the satisfaction of a simple meal, these joys shine more brightly when we're not clouded by expectations. Life becomes more colorful, more fulfilling, and far more peaceful. I want to leave you with a simple but powerful reminder: accepting life as it is does not mean giving up or resigning yourself to passivity. It means freeing yourself from the constant friction between reality and expectation. It means finding calm in the midst of chaos, and joy in moments you might have overlooked before. It's about living fully, right here, right now, without the chains of what should be. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever tried shifting from expecting to accepting? What changes did you notice in your relationships, your health, or your peace of mind? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else to take the first step toward acceptance. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights on living a happier, healthier, and more peaceful life. Remember, small changes in how you approach life can create massive shifts in how you experience it. Here's to finding peace, joy, and freedom by accepting life as it comes. You don't need perfection. You don't need control. You just need the willingness to notice, embrace, and flow with the life you have. And when you do, you'll discover a serenity that can carry you through anything, at any age.